Hey everybody, in this episode of Talking About Orks, 6th edition, we're going to be going over big guns. I'm going to start with the big guns mainly because I still use big guns in pretty much all the time. I've loved my lobbas for a long time. I think they're a great unit, and I think the overall unit has gotten a little bit better. And I think with the more shooty you're going to be seeing in 6th edition, I think probably get more big guns out there than ever before. I really encourage people to give them a try. They're super cheap. They're BS3 and 6th edition rules make them a little bit better. The biggest change, of course, is that they're no longer vehicles, but they have wounds and toughness. It basically just like fantasy war machines, where they have a toughness 7, they have 2 wounds, and a 3+ armor save. When you're shooting at artillery, you always use the toughness 7 and the 3+ save of the guns, and never the stats of the crew, which for the Ork big guns is amazing. Wounding against 7 instead of 2. Of course, there's no more randomness with the shooting between the crew or the guns. You just simply take the closest model, just as always, and we'll get back to that later. Shooting with artillery, some cheese stuff on my book. Anyway, shooting with artillery, the biggest thing is they cannot fire if they move, and they cannot make snapshots. So I don't think that pretty much clears up. They can't overwatch. They can't shoot at flyers. They just can't snapshot. Of course, the only thing they really can, well, actually, yeah, shooting at flyers with cannons would probably be pretty nice. Anyway. You have to have at least 1 crewman per gun to shoot it. If you don't have 1 crewman per gun, the gun models are not removed unless you fall back. But they just kind of sit there, which is great because it kind of acts like a wall almost. For line of sight, you need a line of sight from both the shooter and the gun. And of course, they're barrage weapons, which lobbas are. Assault, in an assault, and for morale and everything else, the gun models are ignored. So if you lose gun models to shooting, you don't have to take a leadership test, which is good for the victory points. So you don't automatically give a victory point with the grots flying off the table from the guns getting shot out from around them. Let's talk about the 3 different kinds of big guns we got here. The 3 kinds are, of course, the lobbas, the cannons, and the zap guns. I'm still not impressed with zap guns. I still can't recommend them. Despite the AP2 being a big change, the random strength just means against vehicles they're just unreliable. If you're worried about things like Terminators, I've never been worried about Terminators or anything else with the 2+ armor save. That's why I've never bothered with zap guns, and they're expensive. The other 2 options are so much cheaper, and I think they're so much more effective. My favorite, of course, as I said, is the lobbas, which are barrage. So let's go to the barrage rules. There's not a lot of changes from 5th edition in the barrage, which is awesome. It makes the lobbas still amazing. The biggest difference is that if you're running the multiple barrage, you have to keep track of the hole for each blast marker. There's a lot of accounting in 6th edition. This is going to actually slow it down a little bit because you have to take the closest model to, you got to mark the wounds, the hits and wounds from each marker individually, and of course they're stacked on top of each other from multiple hits. But you got to take the wounds from each blast marker separately and take the closest models to each hole separately, which can be a lot of work. I haven't done that. It's just, it's not that big a deal most of the time. If you just want to speed the game up, you can probably skip that part. But if you want to get nitpicky or and even try and snipe out something, if you got a good scatter, and so over here you got like the melt-a-gun under this hole, or the flamer, and you want to take that one particular model out, you force it to take the wounds on that guy. Of course, the multiple templates, if you do fire the cannons and the blast haven't changed, you roll each one separately. And just to clarify, if you roll with the ammo runts, you re-roll both the scatter and the 2d6. Cannons are popular. I've tried both cannons. Cannons I've tried lately, and they're really, really effective against vehicles. I don't know how we're going to do vehicles anymore. how much vehicles you're really going to see anymore, but Kannons are pretty versatile, and I gotta admit they're pretty good. But my favorite still to this day will be lobbas, simply because you can hide them completely out of line of sight. You don't have to worry about them getting shot at that often. Most of the time when I lose my Kannons is actually to tank shocks. Our vehicle's kind of slowly made its way across the board, and suddenly here's a rhino tank shocking them off the table, or a wave serpent that's turbo boosted. That won't happen anymore because now you can't tank shock when you turbo boost, which is awesome. So I don't have to worry about the stupid wave serpents tank shocking my lobbas off the table anymore. So yeah, I mean, there's really not a whole lot of change except for the profiles of the guns. Let's see. In terrain, the biggest thing you have to worry about when firing barrages is that. Where'd the terrain part go? Here it is. Barrage weapons always hit the highest level of a ruin or a building. So if you got some guys hiding deep inside, you're not going to be able to hit them with the blast marker, with the lobbas. Death or glory? Let me just double check this. It says by a weapon carried by the model. Oh, yeah. There it is right here. Artillery units may attempt a death or glory. So if someone does try and tank shock your Kannons and you manage to pass, go ahead and do that death or glory. What the heck? Can't hurt the strength 8. Yeah, so that's good. They can death or glory. Okay, so this is pretty much how I've been setting up my lobbas in 6th edition. This is the, say right here, this is the table edge. Put them right on the edge of the table, behind something that blocks line of sight. It could be a hill, a ruin, anything. I might even start putting them, I've got an Aegis defense line, so I might start taking that and putting these behind there with the Ludas in the defense line. But because of the rules saying you always take the closest models first and the guns are ignored for morale, this will assure that if they get shot, they'll stay on the table as long as possible. Because not only is the shooting resolved against toughness 7 with a 3+ armor save and 2 wounds each, but the gun models will go first. So no matter where you're shooting at, you're going to get a gun model first. I'm sure there's even more tricky ways you can get the arrangement, but the main thing is keep the guns out front, so they always go first. So if you lose a gun, there's no morale check needed. Even if you lose 2 guns, there's no morale check needed. Yeah, if you can lose all the guns, but I don't think that's going to be possible unless you get shot at from different directions. So this makes the big guns a lot more survivable against shooting. Against combat, I mean, the guns are ignored, so that doesn't really help you any. But against shooting, the unit's going to be sticking around a lot longer than probably has ever been before, which is really nice. So I really can't see, again, if you haven't played big guns, they are really an amazing unit. So far in my games of 6th edition, the lobbas have, let's see, in the game against the Sisters report, the lobbas killed half of a Battle Sister squad and the other half ran off the table. And then later they killed an entire Dominion squad. And then against the Dark Eldar, they just did a number on grotesques and witches and anything else I shot at them. They're almost always worth their 84 points. Because you gotta take the ammo runs. You always take ammo runs. Yep. And you just don't be afraid to use them up right away. Just, even, especially with these guys, you can use an ammo run on each individual blast. So you could use all 3 up in a single shooting phase. And if that really is gonna make the difference, then go ahead and do it. And just get those massive number of hits. But again, the things to remember is the accounting of the blast markers on which models you have to take first, closest to the blast marker, or closest to the hole of the blast marker for each individual template. Which I'm not looking forward to doing, because it just seems that the wound allocation just slows this edition down so much, and these little nitpicky things that they ask you to do, which really I don't think affects the outcome that much, so that's why I'm probably just not going to bother doing it. So anyway, big guns, 84 points with 3 ammo runs. Cannons, 69 points with 3 ammo runs. If you're not taking any other heavy support choice, and if you're running all foot slugging, you're probably not taking cans or battle wagons, like I'd run. Big guns are a great heavy support, especially in the mission where the heavy supports are scoring. You park these guys on an objective somewhere where they can't be seen, and they're going to be raining death from behind and safe and sound while winning you the game. So that's going to be it for big guns. There's not a whole lot to talk about. There's not a whole lot of changes as far as using them. Just there's big change as far as their survivability. So this might be a little while for my next episode. I'm going to do a lot of research, and because my next episode is going to be all on allies and my recommendations for allies and allied units. So that's going to be it for this episode of Talking About Orks. I'll talk to you guys later.